Holy! All right. Okay. Welcome back to DiveVibe. I've been teaching a rebreather class all week, and I haven't had much time to do anything with videos, so here we go. We're going to do one now. It's a little bit shorter than the ones I normally react to, but I think that there's going to be a lot for me to talk about in this video. All right. So here we go. So we've got a group of divers. Looks like some kind of charter or something. Like they're being led by a guide. Right off the bat, split fins. You guys know how I love split fins. Why don't I like split fins? You're probably wondering, why don't I like split fins? Well, first of all, when you get them, they're already broken. There's a big old crack down the middle. But joking aside, it's a gimmick. They don't work like they're advertised, making your kick easier. If you want an easier kick, then don't kick so hard. Just use good fins, regular old fins. I like a fin with a nice big sidewall so that I can back kick and all that stuff easier. But, you know, I'm not too picky beyond them not being split fins. Okay, let's go. All right, so now we get a little bit more information. I hear a boat moving. So what that means is it's time to get serious. It's time to be looking out. Depending on the area, sometimes where we dive out here, boats around your dive site are just, you know, a fact of life. We have lots of dive sites. Some of them are close to each other, so you may have a boat coming through. But the boats are going to be watching for divers. It's pretty easy to see divers underwater when they're diving open circuit because you can see all these bubbles coming up on the surface. It's especially a group of divers. It's really not all that hard to know where they are. Okay. There's the boat. Wow, that is really close. Spinning props. If I was the dive guide, I would be concerned at this point. I would be reminding all my divers to stay near the bottom. Oh my god, there's a diver on the surface. Or snorkeler. Depending on where they are. Okay, I'm going to pause it. Depending on where they are, if this is a common occurrence, you know they're just going to move through. It's no big deal. Just make sure everybody stays down. Not a problem. If you're diving from shore and it's an area where dive flags are required, probably a good idea. If it's a place where there's a lot of boats, even if it's not required, probably a good idea to have a dive flag, because if you need to surface, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if there's a boat between you and the air. So, dive flag or delayed surface marker buoy. If you want a boat to know that you're around, a great way to do it is by popping up a delayed surface marker buoy. Now, they don't meet the requirements as a surface float for diving in Hawaii. Some places they may, but not here. We still use them for drift diving because it's a lot easier. The boat follows our bubbles anyway, and we have a boat on the surface following our bubbles, just like I just said, but they watch out for other boats, and they'll radio to them or get close enough to yell at them if they need to, and make sure that they're not driving directly over the divers, because who knows, you could have somebody's weights could fall out and they could just ascend to the surface. That'd be bad in and of itself, but you add a boat to the mix and it gets really bad. Boats being over my divers are responsible for some of my scariest near misses as a dive professional, and now I really don't hesitate if a boat goes above me and I'm not sure if they know I'm there. I'm shooting a DSMB up, a delayed surface marker buoy. I keep them on me at all times. Big orange tube. I've got another video where I talk a little bit more about DSMBs. I'll put the up there. I'll put a link up there. And you guys can check that out if you want to know a little bit more. But at this point, with the boat being so close, not knowing what boat that is, I would be, as a guide, I would be putting up a DSMB because this would be freaking me out. Okay, and there's a snorkeler up there. You'd think the snorkeler would be like, hey, there's divers down here. I would not want to have a boat directly over. Holy f***ing shit! Jesus Christ! That has got to be... Oh my God, that has got to be the most negligent anchor drop I have. It's definitely not the worst one I've seen now that I think about it, but it's pretty bad. First of all, the anchor, what really holds it down is the chain. So you need to let out a lot more scope than that, a lot more line, so that the chain can lay on the bottom and keep the anchor in place. Otherwise, it just gets pulled up. As you saw how it was going down, kind of suspended just off the bottom, there definitely wasn't enough scope out to actually have it catch. So I would call that a pretty poor anchor job. Also, if you are in an area with a sensitive bottom, meaning coral or anything like that, or divers, you need to put somebody in the water when you're doing an anchor drop to look and actually see where it's going to land. Out here, sometimes we even have a diver free dive and ride the anchor down to the bottom and make sure that it goes somewhere where it's not going to mess up coral. You don't just drop anchors willy-nilly because you're lazy and you don't want to get in the water. You could break coral, man. You could mess up the bottom. You could hurt somebody. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The instructor in the dive group should be doing something. Launch a DSMB, probably, or dive master, could be instructor, dive master, whoever, or maybe they're just a group of divers out. Somebody should be putting something up. If you don't have a DSMB, then scoot away from the boat and surface if you can, and just because this is dangerous. Do something. Got that snorkeler up there. I would love to know who that person is up there and what the loss in communication is here. This person's going to float up. Here comes somebody to rescue him. What a cluster. What was all that? Apparently they drop a lot of stuff down here. It looks like barrels or something. This is a garbage dive. Yeah. What? Whoever grabbed that anchor and kept it from hitting that person in the face or whatever is the real MVP. I've actually had a anchor dropped almost on me at Electric Beach on Oahu. Hardly ever any boats in there. It's a well-known snorkeling spot. I don't know why people would take their little rental boats in there other than not being educated. But yeah, I had an anchor just land right next to me. And I was towing a float because I was a fairly new diver at that point. I was following all the rules to a T. I'm towing a float with a greater than 12-inch by 12-inch dive flag, as is legally required in the state of Hawaii. And they dropped an anchor almost directly on me. It landed like over here. Doing the mana dive, I've seen tons of bad anchor drops. And if you want to come out to the mana dive and bring your own boat and drop an anchor or something like that, do something crazy, you better believe that those guides are going to be watching you, and they absolutely will film your anchor up to your hull number and submit it to the proper authorities and get you fined. Just don't screw around with this stuff, man. Don't be operating a boat in an area with people underwater when you don't know what you're doing. I think I read a comment on this video. We can look at that real quick. Just get a little more info. So this guy says, I'm the guy who catch the hook. All diver, included me, is a newbie diver. We got 20-25 dives total at that time. This beep is happened on beginning of the dive here. Depth is around 6 meters, and of course we didn't deploy an SMB as it was the beginning of the dive. Normally the site is only for dive boat, fishing boat, all the other stuff. Let's see. It says Sidonia oceanic habitat. Anchoring is forbidden. So the anchoring is forbidden there. So either the boat, their dive boat, was live boating, or it was tied up to a subsurface mooring, or surface mooring, could be. What happened on surface, of course, they had dive flag, must have been on their boat. The boat who anchor us, I think they're pretty sure there's a little bit getting lost in translation here. So both dropped them off. Oh, the boat that anchored them, sorry. It's a foreign boat, and they don't know the area well. Our dive boat try to contact them via radio, but no respond. They also yelling towards them, blah, blah, at the end of the dive. Blah, blah. Wow, that could have been bad. Jesus. Okay, so let's do our what went bad, what went well. What went bad? Somebody dropped an anchor on a dive group. What went well? Very little. The guy who grabbed the anchor and kept it from injuring someone, great. If you get smacked with an anchor in the head underwater, you're not going to be breathing very well after that, or holding the regulator in your mouth very well after that if you're unconscious. So that potentially could be lethal. This is just a huge cluster. Totally could have been prevented by putting someone in the water to check for divers or sensitive bottom. Ugh. Should be ashamed of themselves. And launch an SMB. Jesus. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, everyone, for stopping by and watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video or you learned something, please hit the like button. It's very helpful for me. And if you'd like to see more stuff like that, like this, hit subscribe. I put out a new video every week. I usually shoot for Thursday, but, you know, stuff happens. Other than that, if you want to support the channel, you can do that for $5 a month at Patreon. There's a link in the description. And you could also, if you want to support the channel, buy one of my t-shirts, which is also in a link in the description. Thanks for diving with me today, and I'll see you in the water.